You are at the Almighty Church of Rock on a Sunday night. Can you say hallelujah?
Hallelujah.
I knew you could. That was Silverhead with Hello, New York. Before that, Dishwater featuring Lisa Leathers from Central Illinois with a tune called Friends. And then, of course, the Beach Boys with Good Vibrations. Right now, it's time to get right to it, man. It's Wavy Gravy on the line with us. Let's pot him up. Hello, Wavy. Are you there?
You have some gravy in your ear, perhaps a Q-tip.
I love gravy in my ear. How's Berkeley?
Berkeley is semi-spectacular like always, and we're in a divine chunk of it.
The divine chunk, as opposed to the non-divine chunk.
Well, we're about a holler from Live Oak Park and right next to all the best restaurants and grocery stores and pharmaceuticals, but we have a giant rubber tree in our backyard, the only one at this latitude. And the house was built in the 40s by the grandfather of Will Scarlett, who you may recall is the harmonica player that used to play with Hot Tuna.
Oh, nice. I love Hot Tuna.
He was sick of being a hippie landlord, and we have been driving around the country in a caravan of buses for 7 years. Then I had one of my multitudes of back surgeries, and David Crosby rented Pacific High School in the Santa Cruz Mountains. We would occupy half of it. The other half was occupied by unusual high school students in an unusual high school. And I was able to recover from my back surgery. I think that one, we covered the cast with money from all over the world, and that, of course, was the cast of thousands. And from there, we journeyed with Stuart Brand and company to Sweden for the United Nations Conference on Human Environment, where we took our 1948 Greyhound that they floated to Sweden for us on a boat, and we covered it with black plastic and made it look like a whale, and arranged for it to play whale songs over our PA and squirt water out the roof. And we drove into downtown Stockholm during rush hour and captured the front page of every newspaper in the world.
You know, we would never believe this story if it weren't you, Wavy. If it weren't you, we would never believe this.
I barely believe it. I was there.
Hey, Wavy, for folks that don't know that are listening out there, can you tell them, I think something people always wonder is how you got the name Wavy Gravy. I happen to know, but I'm not going to tell. I was wondering if you could just kind of let people know where you got the name Wavy Gravy, where that comes from.
Absolutely. After Woodstock, we were returned to our little 12-acre spread in Llano, New Mexico, to discover that every hippie on the planet had just driven there to live with us forever. And at the same time, there were these gorgeous brand-new buses wanting to take us to Texas, where they were having a pop festival and a rodeo, and they were having conflict, and they wanted us to be the elevator between the rubber between the elevator doors once again. And so we were anxious to get out of Dodge, so we jumped on these buses, and they took us to Lake Dallas,
Texas,
where we set up a free stage. The concert was at a speedway about 7 miles away.
Yeah, the Texas International Pop Festival, right?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And we had said something like on the microphone, let's hear it for Kunga drummer number 15. And I'm laying on the floor in a dazed state when they get on the giant PA and say, whoa, B.B. King is here with his bus. He's going to play for free. Could we clear the stage? And I looked around. There was nobody there but me. And I'm getting up real slow. It was after one of my memorable back surgeries, and I felt his hand on my shoulder, and I looked up, and there was B.B. King. And he looked down at me, he said, "You Wavy Gravy." I don't know why he said that. He just said that, and I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, Wavy Gravy, I can work around you." And he leaned me up against his amplifier, took out Lucille, and Johnny Winter came out of the other side of the stage. Lucille is the name of BB's guitar.
Sure, yeah.
And they jammed until sunrise.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I knew it was a pretty cool story, but I didn't know that it was that cool. But yeah.
Now, at that time, I was also teaching improvisation to neurologically handicapped kids at Cal State.
Wow, okay.
And I went into a new bunch of kids, and I said, "Hi, I'm Wavy Gravy." And the professors came running in after the class. It was filmed and taped through one-way glass. They said, "Keep that name. You saved a week's orientation." Because when I was Hugh Romney, they were, "Oh, yeah, okay." But when I was Wavy Gravy, they just wanted to roll around and have fun.
Yeah, it's just got it screams fun. Wavy Gravy does. I know, like a lot of people know all about your, the Woodstock and the '60s, '70s. Wanted to talk just a little bit about what you are doing now. Can you tell us just a little bit maybe about the SIVA Foundation? And we try to make it down to your birthday whenever possible and support the SIVA Foundation. But yeah, it'd be great if you could just...
SCVA, but pronounced Seva.
Seva, okay.
Seva is a Sanskrit word that means service to humankind. And it came to pass that after Woodstock, of course, and the Texas Pop Festival and all those things, we actually did this caravan of buses across the country, putting on concerts as we traveled in tie-dye teepees and whatnot. It was attempting to be Warner Brothers' sequel to Woodstock. They called it Medicine Ball Caravan, where we ended up in London, where these English rock and roll promoters had a benefit for us and bought us a bus. They wanted us to drive around Western Europe and spread good vibes. But we had just seen this play that Gandhi did about if God were to appear to starving people, God would not dare to appear in any other form than food. And they just had this cyclone in Bangladesh, so we thought, what if we hippies that had so much media doing the free kitchen at Woodstock showed up in Bangladesh with food, we could embarrass the government. My God, there's hippies doing it. We better do it better. And so we attempted to circumnavigate the globe with 2 buses full of food and medical supplies, which we ended up distributing to Tibetan refugee camps, as we could not get to Bangladesh because the Indo-Pakistani war broke out. But that's neither here nor there. Let us beam to Berkeley, the Athens of the West once more, where we are ensconced. And just down the hill on 5th Street is a little enclave called the Seva Foundation. It came to pass that my best friend, the doctor, Larry Brilliant, who is about to come out with an amazing book about this whole trip and how he went on to work on the eradication of smallpox, which is the only disease in the history of the world to be eradicated, and used to take almost 1 million people every year to death. The sleep that rots. And the WHO, World Health Organization, that Larry connected with, and Larry ended up running the American team for smallpox eradication. 1 million house calls almost to actually wipe out that disease. And Larry had returned to the University of Michigan and was teaching public health when his boss, this amazing woman named Nicole Grasset, who got the Legion of Honor for bringing measles vaccine into Beirut through anti-aircraft fire, she headed up Larry's group in India on smallpox eradication, and she showed up at the University of Michigan said, Larry, we must do something about this blindness. And so Larry shook out his Rolodex, and in the Rolodex was me and my wife, Jahanara, Ram Dass, Danny Rifkin from the Grateful Dead, and a whole bunch of health workers and docs. And we got a small grant from Steve Jobs to gather in Heartlands, Michigan, where Nicole explained to us that 80% of the people in the world that are blind do not need to be blind and can get their sight back with a simple surgery of cataract that costs maybe $10. And
they just don't have the resources or the ability to get to places to have it done. Yes.
And so we decided to embrace that cause, and we had an entree through Nicole into Nepal, through His Majesty's government of Nepal, for Nicole's work in smallpox and measles and all that stuff. And so I was delegated to attempt to encourage the Grateful Dead to do a benefit for our newly formed organization, which we called SEVA. And I went to Detroit to get on the airplane, and who else is on the airplane but the Grateful Dead? And they didn't have parachutes. Talk about kitchen synchronicity.
Just so happened, right?
By the time I got off the plane, they had agreed to do the benefit, which was at the Kaiser Auditorium in Oakland, produced by Bill Graham, who didn't know it was a benefit. Why am I left to find out these things? God damn it. But I was sitting backstage with Jerry's roadie, Steve Parrish, and Bill hands me this note. I open it up, and it's a check for $10,000 for a save. I said, Bill, why are you doing this? Because you did not hit on me, my friend.
You didn't ask.
We've been putting on shows for over 20, close to 30 years now, and 5 million people around the planet are not bumping into stuff as a result of SEVA.
That's so awesome.
Amen.
And it's not just Nepal and India, but Cambodia, Tanzania, but there's even an eye clinic on the side of Mount Kilimanjaro. And it's just so very exciting to do that. And when I'm not doing that, I do a thing called Camp Win a Rainbow, which is the circus and performing arts camp.
Yes, we've heard of that.
7 to 14. And we've been doing that for about 30, 40 years now. I'm getting the children of the children who went to camp. So the beat goes on. We do it in a circle of 17 teepees. And we have a magnificent stage with Meyer Sound and Grateful Dead equipment to die for. It's juggling, tightrope, trapeze, unicycle, tall stilts. Our theater department goes from Shakespeare to improv. I used to teach improvisation at Columbia Pictures. In fact, Harrison Ford was one of my students. If you can believe that, it's true.
So you taught Harrison Ford?
I did a bit. I got him ready to audition for The Graduate, but Dustin got the part.
Dustin got the part.
Interesting. Hey, I have one of our listeners who's also a fan of Wavy Gravy. Her name's Nicole, and she wants to know if you still have your pet fish.
I have a bass that I walk. The Grateful Dead once wanted me to lead a Mardi Gras parade, and I didn't want to go first. So I had a vision of, do you remember those leashes that people had to walk invisible dogs?
Yes.
Well, I took a purse that was a fish, took the strap off it, stuffed it with bubble wrap, and stuck it inside the harness of that fish. And so that was the beginning. That was a trout, which I named Kilgore. And whenever I went anywhere, and there were artists of note, I would get them to autograph the fish. And then I was doing a show at the Gate of Horn in Chicago, and Kurt Vonnegut was going to be reading at this bookstore in Berkeley. So I said, let me leave the fish and see what he does. And I came back to discover that he didn't sign the fish. He drew his profile on the side of the fish.
Wow.
And not to be outdone, Peter Max did a Statue of Liberty on the other side.
Wow.
And I kept collecting so many signatures on that trout. And he got so filthy and disgusting, it would cost, $10,000 to museum clean it. So that's going to have to wait until I croak, and then I'll get it done. But I have segued into a bass these days named Saul, after the great Saul Bass, who invented movie titles.
Okay.
Now, see, if I walked around with a trout on a leash,
It's a bass now.
people would,
Bass.
a bass. If I walked around with a bass on a leash, they'd lock me up. But it just,
Maybe not. Maybe they'd enjoy it as much as they enjoy mine.
I kind of doubt that, Wavy.
The bass is very naughty, too. I remember when Bob Weir got married, the guitar player with the Grateful Dead, if you're not aware, the rhythm guitar player.
Oh, yeah.
And he showed up in Mill Valley in a white horse-drawn carriage, and he was wearing a kilt. And immediately the bass went up his kilt, and all the paparazzi said, "Could you do that again?" I said, "I don't think so." That was a one-time only. But yeah, that bass is very frisky.
That's funny. How was your 80th birthday party back in May?
I had 3 of them.
Oh, okay. How were they?
One at Bob Weir's place in Mill Valley, the Sweetwater, and one in Roanoke Park. And then the third one was in Philadelphia in my daughter-in-law's museum art gallery called the Mainline Arts Center. This guy had this enormous collection of Grateful Dead memorabilia and pitched her to possibly mount his show for a couple of days in the Arts Center. And she happened to drop that her father-in-law was Wavy Gravy, and the guy went totally nuts.
Wow.
And ended up flying out, myself and my wife, and we did a screening of the film Saint Misbehavin'. It's this amazing movie
We love
that
it.
Michelle Ezrick made about our life that is played everywhere in the world.
It's a great
And
movie.
It is a great movie. We've seen
They
that.
just rescreened it at the Bryn Mawr Film Festival. And
Nice.
Michelle came in from New York, and we did a Q&A. It was really sweet and cool. And then returned back to camp, where my 7-year-old grandson Ezra came to Camp Winter Rainbow. You know, we do 9 weeks for kids, one week session for kids who have never been to sleepaway before, and then 4 2-week sessions. But we do 1 week for grown-ups at the beginning of the summer. It's never too late to have a happy childhood.
And if you want to find out more, people can go to, wavygravy.com, or do you have another site?
.net, I think I'm, or .org, or one of them.
Yeah. If you
or
type-
Camp Winter Rainbow. It's WINN Rainbow.
And-
winterrainbow.org, for sure.
And there's one Wavy Gravy, so it won't be hard to find, folks. Hey, Wavy, we want to say thanks a million for coming on the show. It's your 4th time joining us on the show in the last couple of years, and we always appreciate you, man.
Let's never stop meeting like this.
That's right. We love it, man. And thanks for all the kind things you do for the world and for people and for entertaining us all these years, too, man.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
I'm in it for the buzz. That's what I think everybody should do, is find out what lights up for them and go for it. And the wind will blow at their back, and amazing things will happen.
And you're a shining example of that, too.
Yeah. Thanks again, and we'll hope to have you back on the show down the road, my friend.
The Living Goof signing off.
Thanks so much, Wavy.
Take care, Wavy Gravy.